Today, we're going to be discussing how to tell your story. And I'm going to be teaching you both a very quick elevator pitch formula that you can use to help really engage with people. And then we're also going to be talking about a simple story formula that you can use no matter what story you're telling as it relates to your product, your service, where you come from, your origin story, any of that stuff. When it comes to an elevator pitch, I think that a lot of people struggle with explaining to others what they do. So how do we get the information down and condensed into a format that works in 99.9% of cases? Well, here is the formula. I work with type of market who want desired result without pain. Let's use it in my example. So let's use me. I could easily, when people say, hey, what do you do for a living, Jason? I could say, I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast. Well, I have a consulting business and I have this network of people and I'm a content creator and I'm a course creator. I'm a coach. Like there's 1,000 different things that I do every single day that technically is my job. So it can become really, really difficult to understand what it is that I do when I tell people. And a lot of times, up until a few years ago, when people would ask me, I'd be like, I don't know. I do this and I do this. I do a little bit of that. And somehow I managed to pay the bills every month. And then I came up with this little story formula or this elevator pitch formula, and it works really well. So let's look at what I tell people I do. I work with businesses that want to grow without taking on debt or selling equity. So more specifically, I could even say small businesses. I work with small businesses or small companies that want to get desired result, grow without pain, taking on debt or selling equity. And that is what I do no matter what we do. We talk about this show. What am I talking about? Building side hustles, bootstrapping businesses. How do you do it? How do you go from 0 to 1? How do you go from $1 to $1,000 a month? And how do you go from 1,000 to 10,000? And then from there. Then you talk about what's the network about. The network is about aligning people who all want to do that in one place so they can share resources, support each other, and get really great content and training. What about the courses and stuff that I teach and the seminars that I do? All of that, again, geared towards helping businesses, entrepreneurs, whatever word you want to put in there, that want to grow their business, whether from 0 to 1, 1 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, doesn't matter, want to grow, but they don't want to have to take on a bunch of debt from a bank. They don't want to have to sell off a part of their company early on when it doesn't have a very high valuation. They would rather keep that equity, grow a little slower, grow organically, and then maybe down the road, if they want to really turbocharge and they want to blow up to the next level, then maybe they think about taking on a little debt. Then maybe they think about selling equity in their company. Now, there's also something else that we can do with this. We can add a little something to it. If you want to spice it up a little bit, we can add one more component to it. It looks like this. I work with market who want desired result without pain using proprietary method or using method. It doesn't have to be proprietary, but using a specific method. And if we want to see an example of this, I'll read you one. I help overweight men and women who want to get into the best shape of their life without fad diets or dangerous pills using a training system called muscle confusion. You guys might remember this. This is Tony Horton's P90X formula. This is his elevator pitch. You notice that he doesn't say without exercise or dedication or suffering, because he's very much, if you've ever done a P90X workout, it is brutal. So his pain is not simple, quick, easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be grueling. You're really going to push yourself. At the end, you're going to earn the P90X t-shirt that you get. But what are you avoiding? He's pitching people on people who do not want to take pills, who are tired of fad diets, who are really ready to get down and do the work. Now, let's talk about stories for a moment. What kind of stories can we tell, or what are the best kinds of stories? Well, every single story that I am aware of in this world follows a formula. The story formula goes like this. It's 3 steps. Number 1 is setup. Number 2 is conflict. And number 3 is resolution. Setup, conflict, resolution. If you just follow this, I know if you take writing classes, they will tell you, the story arc and all of this and character development and all of that. Just throw all that out the window for a minute. Let's not pretend like any of us are professional writers or storytellers. If you are, great. You don't need this anyway. But if you're not a professional storyteller and you struggle with this, which a lot of people do, a lot of people are not good storytellers. Too much extraneous information, too much BS. They go off on tangents and sidelines and you lose the story. Go right back to setup, conflict, resolution. Every single story on planet Earth follows this formula. How do I know? Take a look at it. Here we go. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. First, setup. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. We're setting the scene. We're introducing the characters right at the very beginning. Jack fell down and broke his crown. This is the conflict issue. Okay? Fell down, broke his crown, and then the resolution, and Jill came tumbling after. Now, you also see this in movies. All right, almost every good movie synopsis will contain these three parts: conflict, setup, resolution. And I gave you a couple of examples here. Let's take a look at the first one. Hotshot fighter pilot is sent to an elite school to test his skills against the best pilots in the Navy. His reckless attitude puts him at odds with his fellow students, and after the death of his co-pilot, isn't sure he'll ever fly again. Eventually, he's forced to face his fear and return to flying to protect his ship and fellow pilots. Of course, that is the plot line of the original Top Gun with Tom Cruise. And it breaks up exactly as we talked about. So first and foremost, setup. Hotshot fighter pilot is sent to an elite school to test his skills against the best pilots in the Navy. Okay, I know. Set the scene. We got the characters. We got fighter pilots. We got the Navy. We know that there's a bunch of them. We know what the story's about. Here's the conflict. His reckless attitude puts him at odds with his fellow students, and after the death of his co-pilot, isn't sure he'll ever fly again. That's pretty big conflict, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen. That's a pretty big obstacle to overcome. And then eventually he's forced to face his fears and return to flying to protect his ship and fellow pilots. That, of course, is the resolution of how we get through it all. Let's take a look at another one. 57 years after surviving an apocalyptic attack aboard a space vessel by merciless space creatures, Officer Ripley awakens from hypersleep and tries to warn anyone who will listen about the predators. But even the battle-hardened Marines sent to destroy the aliens are no match for the hundreds of creatures that have invaded her colony. Ripley is forced to protect herself and a young girl from the alien mother to win the battle of her life. Of course, again, we're talking about the movie Aliens, if you didn't know, the 1986 classic Aliens with Sigourney Weaver, and it breaks down the same way. Again, what's the setup? 57 years after surviving an apocalyptic attack aboard her space vessel by merciless space creatures, Officer Ripley awakens from hypersleep and tries to warn anyone who will listen about the predators. That's the setup. We got the characters. We know kind of what's going on. We know the timeline that this is happening in. All of that stuff is packed right into the setup. What's the conflict? Even the battle-hardened Marines sent to destroy the aliens are no match for the hundreds of creatures that have invaded the colony. What's the resolution? Ripley's forced to protect herself and her young girl from the alien mother to win the battle of her life. And with that said, guys, that's going to do it. If you want to subscribe, please do. Love to hear that. Love it when you guys share the show, and please go on to the network and subscribe there. Join us, become a member, and be part of what we're doing. I will absolutely love it. Until next time, guys, be safe, be good. I'll talk to you then.